Hello everybody and welcome back. It is the elimination bracket and Spacestation have found themselves in here far sooner than they would have wanted. Up against a very hot ITB, it must be said. Jersey joined by Dan Gaskin as always. Oh, the lovely, wonderful, silky tones of Danny G in the house. Spacestation still looking to right some wrongs and steady the ship down because the performances they put in against Optic didn't appear to be very poor, but as against Cloud9 you would expect that to be a 3-0, a 3-1, but Cloud9 really made it a good go.
Yeah, SSG just about scraped through against Cloud9, but now they go up against an ITB who have just come off the victory against Sentinels, a 3-2. Both of the matches going to Game 5, and both of the teams are now into the top 8. But can ITB go one step further and push themselves into the top 6? Of course, that's where they were able to achieve in the previous event at Atlanta. They come in as a top 6 seed, but they wouldn't have been expected to face Spacestation here. In the early stages, SSG have got the early points, but now ITB on the board, and you feel like Stronghold's Recharge is maybe a good game to start with for ITB here.
And speaking about ITB, they've sort of been going about their business kind of quietly down. Their tournament is going pretty well. They've been winning the series they should, and even winning a couple that maybe they were not really the favourites in. I think, look, Lqgend, we were really worried about them, and one performance they put in, they beat Pure 3-0, and all of a sudden, Lqgend find themselves on a very favourable side of the bracket. Although ITB have been very consistent this tournament, they find themselves face to face now with Spacestation. StelluR in the interview said he had to get back and figure out his SH star. I let everybody else figure out what that means, and maybe Spacestation needs to try and sell the ship here and get things going again.
I thought you almost said it.
Ship?
SH star.
It could have been ship. Maybe I misheard him.
Well, that was what was going to come out, but yeah, SSG, they certainly haven't looked themselves, which is maybe confusing after a pool play performance where they looked pretty good, but then as soon as they got into bracket play, they just looked like a different team, and maybe it was just that loss against Optic that really hurt them here. But you're right, I mean, Quadrant on the other side of the bracket as ITB, both of them are in the top 8, but both now playing for the top 6. Of course, Quadrant are going to be going up against Native. And I mean, if you want to play either Native or SSG, it doesn't take a genius to know who you want to pick there. But SSG have a slender lead here right now, but they're looking to try and make it 3 strongholds captured as C is currently being controlled. And now this is where it can start to get a little bit out of control.
Things can get dicey very fast. Now, ITB are a team that are very used to playing Quadrants. This play style is not lost on them. They're very familiar with it. They've had to figure it out a long time ago, and only recently have really started to get a real grip of Quadrant. And of course, Spacestation almost play Quadrant's play style, but better. So a lot of questions are going to be asked of ITB. It's one thing stopping 1 or 2 setups, but you have to do it consistently because Spacestation will keep on coming. They are relentless.
Well, they did well to get B, did ITB. Alas, when they tried to push over towards either C or A, there was just players waiting. It's all well and good getting B, but then sometimes you can find yourself stuck in a little bit of a sandwich, and that's exactly what's going to happen here. Spawners will now be over towards A, so they'll at least not be under the trip cap. But now it's about trying to escape again as Eco is able to win that engagement. And ITB being heavily outslayed here in this first game.
Triple cap's almost like an ankle lock from wrestling. You really don't want to get locked into it because you'll be tapping very soon. You run out of points very quickly. Score and you put distance between you and your opposition. Spacestation have done here. Every single time ITB desperately try and stop the pushing, stop the points. Spacestation are just there. They isolate the players they need to. So although now TchiK has got that hill, he's going to fall now. Numbers advantage will favour Spacestation again, and they can start to formulate more plans and more plots.
And whilst we have seen incredible comebacks on Stronghold so far this tournament, it's already a 130-point lead for SSG, and you have to wonder if ITB are able to get back into this one at all, especially with another camouflage going into the hands of SSG, but does get spotted out thanks to a grenade. Maybe this could be the opening they're desperately searching for. Jimbo actually picks up a double, but quite wisely does not challenge his European counterpart Lqgend, and just holds on to his position instead.
He's had that fight numerous times, no doubt, against Lqgend.
Too many times.
Too many times. And you see Eco now in blue. Jimbo's going to be face to face with him. Help is going to come and help is going to arrive for both players, actually. Unfortunately for ITB and European fans who are up late, no doubt, watching this, hoping that Europe drive further forward. Still got 2 horses left in the race, like Dan and I spoke about. ITB and Lqgend trying to push for top 6. Like we said, ITB drawing the shortest of the squads playing against Spacestation. And of course, that's, again, Dan, no disrespect to Native Gaming, because I think if you asked them before a shot was fired here, who do you want to play against, one of the European teams or Spacestation, they're not picking Spacestation.
I think that also Ascending Baseline are playing in the LCQ. I believe they are playing one of the Latin teams, potentially. I'll double check that one, but they're definitely playing in the LCQ. And we'll have to see whether they can actually put a victory on the board, because they're 0-3 in pool play and have really struggled thus far. But attention turns back to this game, 184-47. It's been fairly one-sided. Sadly, ITB haven't really been able to get going, despite TchiK's best efforts. 11 kills at the moment. It's not been a game to remember for WuTum. But Recharge isn't really the map for WuTum either. You want to see him on some slightly bigger maps with a little bit more to play with the mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, some of those longer ranging sightlines. You think of Forbidden, Argyle as well. Those are the kind of maps that you'll see the mouse and keyboard really thrive. Recharge, a lot more close quarters. You get people up in your face very quickly, and it can be mismatched sometimes with how much damage the controller can put down in such a quick space of time. A and B still in control for SSG here. It's been relatively smooth sailing for them. ITB just not really able to apply the pressure at the right times and crumble thus far.
It is SWAT Latam that Ascending Baseline are playing. I was correct. My memory did serve me well.
Not often it does.
That's really mean, but fair enough.
I just said what I said. But you won't remember me saying it again.
What did you say?
All right.
Well, this game looks like it's about to be closed out. There was a temporary shining moment for ITB where they were able to get a trip cap on the board. But the speed in which SSG were able to break was incredible. Double kill for WuTum. Does maybe keep this game going. It's a triple kill for WuTum. We'll just allow him to grab A, and it's not going to be over just yet.
Enemy team score.
And as we've alluded to, there has been incredible comebacks, but surely this would just be a little bit too far out of reach.
Yeah, have ITB just give themselves too much to do here. They hold A and C, which is never the ideal setup. And Wonderboy will know that standing behind them, and they'll be hoping that they can push forward and get control of B and maybe go for the more conventional A-B. But Legend's going to go down. 2 members of ITB will fall as well. Bound with the shock rifle finds 2 faces, and he's starting to hit shots like that. Bound's going to triple kill. 3 shots to the face. That's really going to put a real dint in any aspirations that ITB have.
Dint or dent?
Tomato, tomato.
What's tomato? Now we're just getting really into the action. We'll dive into that one later. As now, SSG looking to close out this game, and they will, as all 4 go down on the side of ITB. Spacestation Gaming look like they carry on that momentum through from their victory against Cloud9. And as for ITB, maybe it wasn't the best start for them. I thought their strongholds on Recharge could have been a good chance, because you alluded to it, right? They played a lot against Lqgend, who are very good at strongholds as well. However, not able to fare well here against SSG, the reigning champions here in the HCS. That's map 1, done and dusted. And of course, we'll take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll have map number 2.
Welcome back, folks. Game 2 now underway, and if you were looking for a conclusion to the head scratcher that we posed before coming on, dint or dent, it appears that both are correct. So Dan put me on blast on the social medias or the Twitches of the world. He's a bit of a dick.
Fair enough. ITB, though, have taken the lead here in this first game. I'm glad that you came to the conclusion.
I didn't come to the conclusion. It was Google.
It was Google. And Google can tell you whatever you want if you search the right thing.
And I did.
Well, can ITB answer back then here in match number 2? Boy, do they need it. You don't want to go 2-0 down against Spacestation, because that really will be putting you back against the wall, and a lot to do. But ITB, I mean, they like Aquarius. They know how it rocks, they know how it rolls, and you could say the same for SSG, of course, but we have seen SSG struggle previously against certain teams here on this map. So we'll have to see whether ITB can maybe take advantage of that, as we're on board with WuTum. mouse and keyboard player. If you've never seen him play, watch him play, because he is fantastic, and it is always great to be on his POV.
And we did mention that the previous map was not one that would really benefit a mouse and keyboard player. This one is a little bit more suited to the role.
Yep.
Particularly if you sit top middle and you can put down damage and fire down lanes. He most certainly can do that. He's an expert at it, as a matter of fact. And Nico and his long-time teammate StelluR are positioned top middle here and raining down death and destruction.
Found really did elevate himself to new levels in the series against Cloud9. He had a very good first game here against ITB as well. Can't find that kill though. SSG down by 5. And if you are ITB, you really want to continue with this momentum. You want to pummel SSG into the ground. You don't want them close, because we've seen they can get back into Slayers. They did it against Cloud9 both times actually, in both Game 2 and Game 5. So you want to just be out of reach when you get to those final moments.
Yeah, I think you rightfully mentioned the Cloud9 SSG series is a cautionary tale now for ITB. Let's not make the same mistakes that were made before this. And ultimately what it came down to, Dan, in that Cloud9 series was allowing SSG the time to formulate a plan and execute it. And as long as ITB can keep the pace up and not turtle up at any points, they can really make this a difficult ask for SSG.
Yeah, I feel like Cloud9 could have handed the game to Spacestation, giving them that room to breathe, not having a plan of action, instead just sitting back and letting them push them. I don't know how much time ITB would have had to do research between series, because of course they were competing with Sentinels in a Game 5 as well, so they probably wouldn't have seen much happen. Maybe there was a little quick refresher done by other teams just to say, hey, how did they play? How did they do? What happened? What went wrong? Looks good at the moment for ITB. They have an 8-kill lead. Make it 9. Spacestation just struggling to get back into this game, and I think that ITB need to keep this pressure and keep getting these overshields as well. Don't give that ticket back into the game.
Yeah, they've got to remain relentless here. Keep applying the same flow of pressure and make yourself the difficult kill when need be. Even if you're down in the fight, just delaying your death by a second or two, allowing your teammates to get close to you, and maybe capitalize on any damage that you've done or even timings that you've maybe afforded them. That overshield you speak about, Dan, it's about to pop up any second now. You can see Eco standing top middle waiting for it. He's got a little bit to wait though. Now watch Kettle Never Boiled and watch overshield. It will still pop, but it's going to be a while.
Eco's very good at being in the right place at the right time, and he's very aware of his surroundings, but he'll fall here, and it's still going to be an 8-kill lead. SSG haven't really been able to close that gap, but they have been able to grab an overshield, and it's Lqgend, who has played against these players many a time in Europe, but now playing against them on international soil. His own soil, technically, now in North America. As SSG close into 5.
I wonder if Lqgend is starting to say things like trash. There's some other turncoats I know. I have to ask him. It's always the ones you love most that you have to keep an eye on. They will betray it.
Well, I actually think that a lot of European countries use a lot of Americanisms anyway. It's funny because Irish people use a lot of Americanisms. I've heard you say some questionable things.
We don't even pronounce H's and numbers and stuff. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you can't really be used as
We're barely using the English language as it is.
All right, well.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the ITB Spacestation Gaming Series. And we appreciate your patience standing by whilst we ironed out a few technical difficulties. If you're thinking to yourself, Shares, I was not actually very patient. I'm furious right now. Well, I can only extend my apologies for whatever that's worth to you. As a matter of fact, the games are rolling again, so please forgive us. We do have guns firing once again. We have the typical overshields and stuff to play for once more. Now, if you're just joining us, you might notice there's some score down the bottom, and that's because these two teams had gotten to a 32-28 scoreline before the break in play. And as we rejoin the proceedings, you will now see it's 36-34, so Spacestation have eaten away at that lead just a little bit, but ITB remain ahead.
And boy, do ITB need to win this one. You cannot afford to go 2-0 down against the reigning champions here in HCS. But it's 37-37, so that 4-kill lead that they started with is slowly disappeared right from beneath their feet. We're all tied up 38-38. Now SSG really have been able to push ITB back every time off spawn, and now they've gained the lead here. TchiK does fight back, and this one's going to come right down to the wire, you can already tell, but all 4 dead for ITB. SSG have the lead.
This is the first time that SSG have the lead in the game. Maybe those couple of breaks in play have benefited. Whether it has factually or not is irrelevant. What is relevant right now is that they have a 3-kill advantage, and they're building upon it, which is miserable news if you are an ITB fan or indeed an ITB player. So they have a lot of work to do in this game and this series. You're now down by 6. As quickly as you can be ahead in the game of StelluR, it's how quickly it can be taken away from you in an instant, Dan.
The game giveth, but the game taketh away. 3 more required for SSG now, and it's very rare you would see them lose in this position, and now it's just 2. Have ITB just left themselves with too much to do in these final moments. You can see the overshield was also up, and I think if SSG grab it, which they don't, it's actually ITB who get hold of it here, so maybe that's going to be their lifeline, but no. WuTum falls, and now it's just 1 more kill left for SSG.
And that one comes in the shape and form of StelluR. Spacestation Gaming do secure their 2nd map win, take a 2-0 lead. ITB, try as they might, they just fell short in that StelluR after a really hot start. So the break and play really not benefiting them whatsoever, but they do have time to bounce back in this series in map number 3. We will have that very shortly, so don't go anywhere. Elimination round 2, continuation of the series here, folks. Spacestation Gaming 2 to the good, 1 away from sending ITB home. It is important to note that ITB have already qualified for the Halo World Championships in Seattle next month, so even if this series doesn't go their way, although it will be disappointing to not progress in the tournament, absolutely, their performances have warranted, at least at the bare minimum, qualification and representation at the World Championships, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, they would be there anyway, just through points if nothing else, but it's nice to guarantee that spot. But sadly, it would still be a disappointment for them, and we have to really go back and blame Complexity. All of this
enemy number 1
is because of Complexity, who beat Optic Gaming, and Optic Gaming then went on to play Spacestation and beat Spacestation. Now Spacestation have found themselves in the elimination bracket, and thus we have this elimination bracket of doom that ITB find themselves in. But you can only play what's in front of you. For SSG, it's going to be a long old road if they want to get into Championship Sunday, and they will be playing late into the night here in Salt Lake City. So remember, not only on the other side of the bracket do you have the likes of Lqgend, who are currently playing at the moment, or will be playing, sorry, in their next game. They're not playing right now. You're going to have those dropping down from that winner's bracket, likes of Complexity, who just lost to Shopify, and then one of either FaZe or Optic will also be falling into that elimination bracket. And that is going to be a very difficult road, whoever you face.
And then I have to ask the question, do Spacestation and FaZe align up somewhere before the elimination finals? Because that could be damning for either one of them, because that means it's happened in the past that we will lose one of the top 3 far sooner than we would like, and definitely far sooner than they would like. But yeah, back to the situation and the series at hand. Spacestation have a comfortable 54-point lead and climbing.
I can answer your question. I believe that FaZe or Optic would drop down to the other side of the bracket, so the earliest they would be able to play each other would be the losers semis. So that would be, of course, 4 top 3. And then they would go on into that elimination bracket final to play whoever drops out of the winners final. So it's going to be at least good for Spacestation that they move on if they win this here, and they would face Complexity for top 4. But even Complexity, we've seen what they could do against some of the big teams, so that is going to be a difficult one if it happens. I don't want to write off ITB just yet, but as I've been talking, 76 points have just gone on the board for Spacestation, and they are firmly in control here.
76 points, quick as a flash as well. Didn't seem to have to work too hard for it. That's just indicative of how well Spacestation are playing and how good their setup really can be. Jimbo's going to lose that camouflage, and that's going to be a big play then for Spacestation that opens the door for a setup breaker. Players of ITB recognize in trouble and trying to back away and prioritize survival. Unfortunately, StelluR's not in a forgiving mood, Dan, and typically if he sees 2 players down to no shields, he says, that's 2 free kills for me.
It's kind of wild to think that SSG were merely a couple of kills away from being eliminated from this tournament. But now they have just about faced defeat and said, you know what, screw it, let's actually start to play like we know we can, as they look more like the SSG here in this series, because toppling ITB like this is no easy feat. ITB have been incredible so far this tournament. They had a fantastic pool play. They take down Sentinels in the elimination bracket to knock them out, guarantee their spot in Worlds, but maybe SSG is just one step too far. And you know, as the night goes on, Saturday is always the longest day, right? You have to play right from the very beginning, 10 AM, playing against the teams that have qualified from the open bracket. If you are in that elimination side, you can play right through to 11 PM. It could be upward of 12 hours of Halo. Obviously, you have breaks in between, and you can stay well fed, hydrated. However, it's still a very difficult mental task, and you have to commend the players for being able to do that all tournament long.
It does just highlight how important a good night's sleep can be for these teams. You're going to be burning the midnight oil, playing Halo until the late hours.
It is also something that they all do when they're at home. Like,
different. You're in your pajamas.
They can all stream for 12 hours straight and they'll be absolutely fine, but it's the, you know, the pressure that's added on the top of it, playing in a tournament environment, the bright lights on the main stage. And speaking of, who's going to be there? SSG are currently on 96. They are closing in on 100 here.
And they will get that 100. Oh, will they? Hang on a second.
Will they? Sliming.
StelluR will get the final second. And that means SSG are just one round away from the clean sweep. And I think it's important to highlight how impressive ITB have been this tournament. And I think they can find themselves rather unfortunate again. Keep harping on about it. We blame complexity, maybe Omnicare to blame as well. Maybe Dead Zone being so unwell. But they have steadied the ship, have Optic Gaming. They've written some wrongs or righted some wrongs or whatever the expression might be. Either way, Dead Zone seems to have kicked whatever illness that was hampering his performance yesterday. And that is always good to see, Dan, because we don't want to see players playing with an illness because there's always an asterisk around the results.
Yeah, I mean, we thought it was just, you know, the stats being blown out of the window just because Optic were playing bad for a short while, but now with their response today, perhaps it was just Dead Zone's illness, and maybe they would have won some of those favourable matchups had he been feeling a little bit better. It's, of course, hard to actually say in hindsight. Richie Hindsight. It's an early lead again, though, for SSG, as StelluR continuing to be a thorn in the side of ITB, and sadly for Into the Breach, they have not been able to get going here. And I do wonder if they just kind of put so much into that Sentinel series where they were able to win in Game 5. Remember, they were down 2-1. They come back to win it in that fifth and final map. SSG did the same, though. I mean, they were down against Cloud9, managed to bring it back. They went all the way to a Game 5. But they find themselves here very close from heading into the top 6.
And sometimes the difference in a result that can simply come down to a series layout. Maybe if ITB had gotten a couple more game types that they like, maybe they're better at, this series could be far more competitive right now than Spacestation can be comfortable with. But that's the lay of the land. That's how it shakes out sometimes. The dice does roll.
Yep.
And sometimes the series layout does go against you. You have to be well-rounded in many respects in what sort of performance you put out and consistently on different battle modes.
Yeah, they're usually the biggest, the best teams are just good across the board and have very little weaknesses. I mean, I would love to see a tournament one day. I mean, if not HCS, it's just a side tournament and with veto process, and if it's done correctly, see how that would shake things up. And I'm sure there would be some differing results as teams could avoid a few maps that maybe they're a little bit iffy on. And also, you try and take away some of the better maps, but alas, that's a conversation for another day, maybe even another year. Maybe even another game, who knows. But ITB, they've had 3 down here, so SSG can get hold of this camouflage and maybe even get hold of the ball off the back of it.
One that has been performing very well in this game is WuTum, and they need him. As a matter of fact, he needs his teammates to perform a little bit better, because Spacestation are pulling away here in round number 2. Grenade goes down, which means StelluR not going to chase that kill. Happy to keep the camouflage alive, keep himself nice and healthy. This can't be good news, Dan. I've seen this movie play out too many times, and it doesn't really result in nice things happening for the opposing team.
Depends which way you see it. Sometimes if you go into page 4, in the incognito tab, this is what StelluR can do for you. There's the first and almost connect with it, but Spacestation, they temporarily have ITB all 4 dead. And now they are firmly in control, and StelluR just lines him up every single time with the no-scopes, and he always connects with that body. At least zMightys does shut him down. Has been a somewhat quiet series for zMightys as well, I have to say. But I think ultimately for ITB, it's just been one step too far, and I think they should hold their heads high with how they've been playing so far this tournament, but they've come across an SSG who are pretty annoyed about having to be playing here in the elimination bracket.
Yeah, no doubt about it, them boys are miffed.
And you got to think, ITB were even close to beating FaZe.
Yeah.
And they took FaZe all the way to a game 5, and they would have had top 6, they would have been in that winner's bracket. Like, it's just fine margins for ITB, tournament after tournament, but they seem to be getting better and better as we go on, and I'm very excited to see what they're capable of at the World Championship, if we are to see them exit the tournament here.
Something that's always very impressive about StelluR's gameplay is when he has that sniper rifle down. Now don't get me wrong, he will hit the face more often than not, but it's the consistency that he will land the body shots, and it can really turn a fight in his favor. If someone gets first 3 shots, he will land that body shot, even if they're sliding across at 100 miles an hour. He manages to land that shot. It really makes it difficult to press home any advantage that the damage that you put down would have allowed previously. But speaking of advantages that have been put down, 73-14 the score now. 3 dead for Spacestation, so some cause for optimism, but as I say that, somehow the last man alive is Lqgend, and he had the ball in his hand for a moment.
The clock is going to become a little bit of a problem if ITB can't get it set up soon, but perhaps this is going to be their chance. zMightys can retreat to back tower. StelluR though gets the opening onto Jimbo, and now you're fighting in a 3 versus 4, and zMightys is probably going to have to toss this ball off shortly, and there you have it. Refocus, you got a little bit of time, but it wasn't the ideal setup, and Lqgend gets one, Eco gets another. ITB, 3 go dead. 3 go dead.
3 go dead. That's an incredible line.
That's probably something that is said in the southwest of England. 3 go dead.
3 are dead now.
But ITB just haven't been able to get that setup. SSG have done very well to crack it early on and not allow them.
Bodies continue to hit the floor. Lqgend and TchiK, both of them, of course, former teammates on that very successful quadrant roster of last year that reached dizzying heights of top 3, record breakers together. But it was really the decision of Lqgend to leave Europe, and of course represent Spacestation Gaming here in North America, go on to have successes and winning majors. But someone who didn't have a great old time after his departure was TchiK, because he was deemed surplus to requirements when the recipe was no longer deemed tasty, Dan.
We'll get the age-old question of who's going to outplace who. Will Quadrant go on in the next series to outplace ITB if they were to fall here? Because it has just been a back and forth about who is the best in Europe since Lqgend left. It's been more of an open discussion, right? ITB were able to catch up, and ITB's still in this game, by the way. Only 30 points behind, but 45 left on the clock. By the way, 23 assists for Kevin Eco Smith. What on earth am I seeing on my screen? He has been a human turret this game.
Bound, TchiK, continue to do the dance, back and forth, and there you go. And TchiK was taken care of from elsewhere, and that was Eco once more, adding a kill to that impressive column. 23, and was 13, which would look pretty on the scoreline, but now looking a little bit less pretty at 14 deaths. But damage already very much done, as 85 seconds to 53, and like you said, Dan, if ITB were not going to get that perfect setup at some point, it was going to hinder them with the shot clock. And looking at it now, and we're really into the final knock-ins of what could be their last throw of dice in this tournament, because, again, a reminder here, they lose this game, they are falling short of their expectations despite performing really well. And you can see here SSG quite happy to leave the ball down, put it in no man's land, and play StelluR for the final moments. And it's only going to be 5 seconds of tournament like that for ITB. They're not going to get close to that ball. Eco, like a steward, keeps the ball safe. Clean sweep for SSG.
SSG will march on into the top 6 with a matchup against Complexity to follow up for them to try and get into that top 4 and of course to try and get into Championship Sunday. ITB, sadly, that will be the end of their tournament. Top 8, but they will qualify for Worlds, and it was a valiant effort here in this tournament. They have looked incredible, but sadly come across an SSG in the elimination bracket who are hot and heavy. That's going to do it for now here on the B stream, but there will be more coming up, so do not go anywhere. We'll be right back. Short while.